Alright, so Chapter 6 concluded with the 0 Hour live event not too long ago, and even though we're now in Chapter 7, I kinda wanted to take a look back on Chapter 6 and how it fared this year, so let's do this. Okay, Season 1 came out in late 2024, and it was pretty good. The new mechanics were interesting, like the wall jumping, the rolling, and we could climb on structures. Hit scan finally returned as well, and that made the new guns feel good. The weapon mods were also gone, and honestly, I don't think Fortnite is the type of game that needs attachments anyways, so I wasn't too sad about it. The loot pool was also pretty fun to play with, like the Fury AR, the Hollow Twister AR, the Twin Fire Auto Shotgun, the Oni Shotgun, the Veiled Precision SMG, the Surge Fire SMG, the OG SMG, the Dual Micro SMGs, the Typhoon Blade, the Void Oni Mask, and the Fire Oni Mask. The boons were also interesting because they felt like a successor to augments without the overwhelming nature of the original augment system. The Godzilla transformation was also fun. That is, if you could get it, because literally everyone was trying to get it, and it was OP as fuck. But other than that, it was a cool event in game. The map was also great to look at. I liked the sort of expanded Japanese aesthetic of what they had in Chapter 4 Season 2. The locations were also for once not boring, like Foxy Floodgate, Brutal Boxcars, Bird, Canyon Crossing, Demon's Dojo, Flooded Frogs, Hopeful Heights, Lost Lake, Mass Meadows, Magic Mosses, Pump Power, Night Shift Forest, Seaport City, Shogun Solitude, Shining Span, Twinkle Terrace, Warrior's Watch, Whiffy Wharf, Shattered Span, and Kappa Kappa Factory, with one of my favorites being Night Shift Forest. The Battle Pass was okay, although they did finally do something I had been asking for years. They removed battle stars, which was definitely a W in my book, and I could go on about what a garbage system the stars were, but this is about the chapter, so let's stay on track. The highlights in terms of skins in the Battle Pass for me were Nyanja, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, the Night Rose, Shadowblade Hope, Daigo, and Godzilla, so overall, a pretty okay Battle Pass. There was a mini event that sadly I missed, but I later watched a video of it, and it definitely seemed good, and overall, I would say Season 1 was pretty good. Alright, so to be honest, I didn't really play a whole lot of the season, mainly due to a bit of burnout, but from what I remember, it was another recycled heist theme. Okay, I'm just gonna say this real quick. Epic, can we please stop with the whole spy slash heist theme for a season? It's getting a bit old at this point. Anyways, so yeah, it was yet another heist theme, except this time it's set in a crime city. Ooh. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I didn't really find this that interesting. Especially the POIs, but we'll get to that. First, let's mention the loot pool. Well, the loot pool unfortunately was average at best, with such items as the Collateral Damage AR, the Twin Mag AR, the Striker Burst AR, the Sentinel Pump Shotgun, the Infiltrator Pump Shotgun, the Outlaw Shotgun, the Pump and Dump Shotgun slash SMG, the Scope Burst SMG, the Suppressed Pistol, the Mammoth Pistol, the Falcon Eye Sniper, the thermite, the shield breaker EMP, the sticky grenade launcher, the kneecapper, both Sub-Zero and Scorpion's combat kits, the rocket ram, the rocket drill, the shockwave grenade, the plasma burst laser, the pulse scanner, and the business turret. You get the gist. A lot, and I mean a lot, of the items in this season were just returning items, because that's how bland and uninteresting this season was. The boons were also okay, but nothing too special. Now, the map this season was not really as good as Season 1's map, because most of the POIs looked really generic and didn't really fit well with the aesthetic established in Season 1, like Crime City, Lone Wolf Lair, Outlaw Oasis, and Shiny Shafts. The Battle Pass was also bad in my opinion, and the only real highlights were Sub-Zero and Fletcher Kane. So overall, Season 2 was average. Okay, so Mini Season 1, aka the Star Wars season. This was an interesting experiment from Epic, to say the least, because it was something that's usually reserved for the end of a chapter, not in the middle. But I guess the idea was to give us a kind of season in between so that it wouldn't only be limited to 4 full seasons. And while in theory this could work, it wasn't really executed properly because this new middle mini season was Star Wars themed, and don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars, even if it hasn't been treated great in the past 10 years, but the way they did this season was half-assed, because the entire loot pool was replaced with all Star Wars weapons, like blasters and lightsabers, and it's fine to have those things, but not if it's at the cost of your entire chapter's loot pool. The Stormtroopers outposts were also copy and pasted from previous May the 4th events, and of course the POIs were Star Wars themed, such as First Order Base, Outpost Enclave, Resistance Base, and Vader's Samurai Solitude. And these were decent POIs, but again, they didn't really mesh well with the theme for this map. Now, they introduced the Darth Vader AI that you could talk to, and it would respond based on what you said. And normally I'm against this kind of AI being in video games, but if you can get it to say dumb shit and make yourself laugh, then it's not as bad. And if you want to hear it say some funny stuff, then go check out this video by my friend It's Kane, featuring yours truly. But what about the Battle Pass? Well, it was decent. Mainly because Star Wars characters were in it. But my highlights were absolutely General Grievous and Emperor Palpatine. The live event was also not half bad, surprisingly, and it felt like a classic story event. So overall, I would say the season was okay. While the live event was good and all, the season itself just felt like an extended May the 4th event. Alright, well, Season 3 is where things started to turn around a bit, because it finally broke the curse of Season 3's being the weakest season in a chapter, and not only that, we also got the standard loot pool back, and the theme wasn't as bland as Season 2. Even though we've technically seen the superhero theme done before in both Marvel seasons in Chapter 2 and 5, it hasn't been run into the ground like the spy or heist theme. So the loot pool, as mentioned, was finally back to normal after being gone for a month, and the new items were actually kinda good, such as the Spire Rifle, the kill switch revolvers, the base boost, the mist gauntlets, the storm beast pom-poms, and the mist form. We of course had a bunch of returning items that would take way too long to list off. But what about the map? Well, it has the same problem as Season 2 and the Star Wars season in that the POIs don't really seem to fit with the map's theme, but they were good. And the new POIs were Supernova Academy, Utopia City, and Demon's Domain. Now, the Battle Pass, well, it was another meh Battle Pass for the most part, and the only real highlights for me were Morgan Miss and Robin. The live event was also pretty good. I liked the boss fight aspect of it, so overall, I would say it's a pretty good season. Okay, this season had a good start, but did get a bit boring after a few weeks. Now, while I wasn't as bored as I was with Season 2, it also didn't really do enough to keep up the momentum, besides the Fort Nightmares update, which I did like. But if you want to hear more about it, then go watch my Fort Nightmares 2025 review. Now, the loophole was not half bad, with items like the OXR rifle, the Lead Spitter 3000, the Sweeper shotgun, and some of the Fort Nightmares loot pool. The map was also interesting, because we got the bugs on the map, and they basically copied Helldivers. I mean, there's no denying it. But was it at least done well? It's a bit complicated, because while it was cool at first, the bugs did overstay their welcome a bit. Probably why they removed them entirely towards the end of the season. And the bug biomes were just ugly to look at, in my opinion. But like I said, they were removed, and those biomes were replaced with normal looking ones, and the map finally looks good again. I did like the OXR base locations though. The OXR choppers were also fun to use, and the Megazord transformation was alright, but not as good as Godzilla in Season 1. The Battle Pass, once again, not great. And the only highlights were the UNSC Spartan, the Green Ranger, and Megazord. There was also the mini Simpsons event, and it was fine, but nothing really too special. So, overall, I would say this season was decent. Alright, now we have reached the final season of the chapter, the Simpsons season. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually had some fun with it. Now, it wasn't my favorite season, but it wasn't too bad either. And it was executed much better than the Star Wars season. So, we technically got a new map, which was a hodgepodge of Fortnite original locations and Springfield from the show. And it was interesting having it cel-shaded. And the POIs were as follows: Burns Manor, Cletus's Cornhole, Donut District, Evergreen Terrace, Camp Krusty, Mayor's Munchies, Springfield Nuclear Power Plant, Springfield Slurp Works, and Springfield Town Square, and these POIs were pretty good. The loot pool was also pretty fun, largely due to a lot of it being old weapons, but we also had new good items, like the 5-gun, the deodorant applicator, the Mr. Blasty revolver, the Cobalt slingshot, and the cartoon chainsaw. The battle pass also wasn't too bad. Of course, a lot of it was Simpsons characters, but I ain't complaining. The definite highlights were Marge Simpson, Ned Flanders, and Homer Simpson. The live event was Zero War, as mentioned earlier, and man, this event, although a bit short, was great. We finally had a big chapter end event again, and it was so good. Like I said, the only flaw I had was that it seemed a bit short, but that didn't ruin it for me. So, overall, I would say the Simpsons season was pretty good. So, in conclusion, Chapter 6 had its ups and downs, and it certainly wasn't perfect, but in a lot of ways, it was also a big step up from Chapter 5, which is a W on its own. And with that being said, my final rating for Chapter 6 is a 7.5 out of 10. But that is going to do it for today. And whatever your thoughts are about Chapter 6 or this review, be sure and leave it in the comments. And as always, I will see you all next time.